I'm going to invite the children to come forward for our story time this morning. And did I see that there are some extra programs that were available to go around? Does anyone need a program? There's some lyrics in there. So raise your hand and we'll make sure those ushers will bring some forward. Wonderful. So there's some holiday coming up that we were just talking about. What was it again? Christmas. Oh, do you know, at this time of year, it's a reasonable thing to forget because there are so many important holidays. And the Christmas story, it's just such a wonderful story. And it's so wonderful. And do you know what's so silly about this wonderful story? Sometimes I don't even really stop to think about it and why this story is so special that we tell it again and again. And what is Christmas a celebration of again? Why do we celebrate Christmas? What happens on Christmas? Yeah? Presents. Yes. Wait, now I could think, oh my God, I know it. It's a birthday party, right? So you come and you give presents at a birthday party? It's sort of like that, a little bit, because it is the celebration of Jesus's birthday. Exactly, right? So before there were even the trees, it started as a birthday party. Now, who likes birthday parties? Oh, people of all ages still like birthday parties. That's not always true. But it's seemingly always true for Jesus's birthday party, at least. Now, so the story that we tell on Christmas Day actually comes from the Bible, and it was written by a man named Luke. And Luke tells the story of the day Jesus was born. And I don't know about you, but have any of you ever been told by your parent, or have you told your child about the day you were born? Yeah? It's kind of a, no, you should ask about it. It's a special day. And do you know, it's not the smoothest story, no matter what. And that's no different from Jesus. Because right before Jesus was born, his mom was told she had to move to a different city. What? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what? And do you know what? They had no moving companies back then. And she had to pack herself and she had to ride a donkey. Now, I'm the mother of 2 kids, and if someone told me when I was pregnant I had to ride a donkey, I would have a few words to say, and they wouldn't have been very polite. Now, she had to go, and finally she got somewhere towards her destination, and she was really tired and she needed a break, and they found an inn, and do you know what she was told at that inn? There was no room. What? Yes, exactly. And so they said, we don't have a bed for you, but you could go sleep in the barn. Yeah, what? And she kind of felt that way, but she also looked outside and she goes, a barn is better than nothing. So she went into the barn, and lo and behold, because this is the Christmas story, so it is a lo and behold, that was the night that she could tell the baby was coming. And so there she was, and she was working. And a baby coming is not a small thing. In the Bible it goes, she could tell the baby was coming, and then the baby was born. But there's a whole story in there. And if you want to know about a little bit about that story in there, you'll come back on Christmas Eve, because there's a moment about that story in there. FYI. And while she was doing her good work in the barn, something else miraculous was happening. In fact, while she was breathing life, and there was this heaving and pushing and shoving, that same thing was happening up in the sky. In fact, there was this twinkling of these stars and this movement in this air, this fluttering, and these shepherds who are out in a field heard this miraculous light and heard this voice that said, "Lo, you have been waiting for a long time. You've been hungry and scared and alone, and today a leader is going to be born. And from this day, you should know you should have hope that things are going to get better." And that news meant so much to those shepherds. And the voice said, if you follow that bright star in the sky, it will lead you right to this leader and the whole community who loves him. And do you know what they said? In our shepherd, they said, in our pageant on Christmas Eve, they said, woohoo! Which is like a modern adaptation, but basically biblically correct. And so they go, and there, as they're heading there, surrounded by these animals, this donkey and this ox, there the baby Jesus is born. And baby Jesus is seen by his parents, but he's also seen by these other creatures of the earth, and they go, to welcome him. And then the shepherds arrive and they go, oh. And as they're kind of getting settled, and probably just as they're ready, everyone to fall asleep, these three wise and rich men arrive perfectly on time to give these gifts to Jesus to bless him, because they have journeyed far and wide and have grown so wise, and they knew that his birth, the birth of new life and the birth of a new generation, is something so sacred. And so they were traveled so far. And that is the Christmas story that we tell in our pageant every year. Now, why is this story so special? For one thing, it's so special to me because it says you don't need to be a king or in the government or a Hollywood celebrity or any of those things to be a hero of a story. And you know what? The story can have messages of hope for the people who are feeling most lost and hopeless and forgotten. In fact, those people can be some of the most important people in the story. And it shows the story that people who seemingly have everything, kings from afar who have wisdom and riches and power, that they too can find meaning to journey and to welcome the youngest of babes. It's a story of coming together across the generations. And so sometimes I like to say, who am I in this story? Am I Mary, who is courageously doing whatever it takes to keep things going? Am I the protective Joseph, who's at our side, who goes, this maybe really isn't my problem, but she's family, and so I'll help her anyway? Am I the shepherds who are waiting for hope? Am I the kings who give blessing? Am I the innkeeper who says, today I'm not choosing to help you? There's a little bit, I think, of each of us in every character in this story, and I think that's one thing that's so beautiful about having a paper bag pageant, is that when you arrive, you can go and look and say, I think I want to challenge myself to see how I'm like the innkeeper today, or I think I want to be generous and protective like Joseph today. And you could kind of try that on a little bit more to see how you're related to the story. So some people say, the stories in the Bible, there's no evidence that that happened. We can't find that barn anywhere. But when I go and I think about that story, I think this might be one of the most true stories I've ever heard. So I invite you to think about you and the Christmas story and how it reminds you of what you're seeking or how you're acting in this world today. Now, I'm going to invite you to pull out the connection cards, those beautiful pink cards that are at the end of their pew. And if you don't have one yet, please share them with your neighbors. And if there aren't enough, I invite you to compile your answers on one card. And I invite you to think about the prompts in the back, whether or not you'll join us for Christmas this year for our soup and salad, our fireside conversation, for our paper bag pageant. I invite you to answer the question as your soul is uplifted with our music that's coming, what makes your heart sing? And most of all, we wish you a very, very happy holidays. So in this time of musical reflection to follow, we invite you to go and join your families again, fill out your connection cards, and then after that, I will invite you to sing our children out to their classes. Thank you.
After service today, you are invited to celebrate together in the atrium with our children and our families our holiday party, and there'll be an opportunity to add perhaps a last ornament to your tree. It's a 7 Principles ornament, so we invite you to celebrate all together. And with that, will you please remain seated as we sing our children and youth to their classes with the 3rd verse of Silent Night. Hymn number 251, or the lyrics are printed in your order of service.